Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning into our show. I'm Janet Miranda.
And I'm Jai Sugrim. We're your hosts of Motivations. Our show is all about bringing resources to the public in the hopes to inspire positive change in the lives of our viewers.
Our topic today covers a powerful message for our audiences titled Wellness. According to the World Health Organization, wellness is a dynamic process of change and growth characterized by a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being.
We here at Motivations have always felt like there is great power in rising to meet challenges. No effort is ever wasted on the path to creating a healthy and balanced life. We believe that is one of the greatest rewards.
According to the National Wellness Institute, they define the process of coming into harmony with oneself as a conscious, self-directed, and evolving process of achieving our full potential. I love that notion of being self-directed with the knowledge that we gain.
That thought alone is empowering, to realize that our choices matter and that the choices we are making today will create our future developed selves.
This is why I'm so excited to hear from today's guests.
We hope you're as excited as we are. We believe that the transformation of society begins at home on a personal, individual level.
I'm inspired already, so thank you again for tuning in and watching our show. Let's introduce our first guest now. In our next interview, we sit down with personal trainer, meditation instructor, inner voice dialogue facilitator, and creator-owner of Inspired Exercise New York City. Originally from Chicago, he has nearly 15 years of personal training experience. This man is proud to have helped so many of his clients reach their fitness goals by creating minimal equipment exercise programs centered on maximizing time. From his talent as an athlete and basketball coach, he incorporated highly effective, fun, and personalized methods of motivation. This incredible individual is Eric Potempa.
Welcome to Motivations. I'm your host, Jai Sugrim. Today we've got a very exciting program ahead. With me is Eric Potempa. Eric is the founder of Inspired Exercise NYC. He combines personal training with cutting-edge coaching techniques to help you lead a healthy and balanced life. Eric, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, man.
We're going to talk today about resourceful ways of channeling anger. Eric has a technique that he wants to share with us, and then he's going to demonstrate how to do this technique so that you can process anger in a way that is productive and useful. Eric, let's hear all about what you're doing.
All right, so like you said, I'm all about using exercise as a means to create a happy and fulfilling life. So the workout that I'm going to share with you guys today is one that I created for any time that you're extremely stressed out. Whether it's something that's happening in your personal life, maybe you're stressed about what's happening in the news right now, or perhaps you live in an urban environment, you have a really high-paced life and that's demanding, you're working crazy hours, you don't have time for yourself, for your family. If any of this resonates, this
Which
workout,
I'm sure it does.
this is going to help a lot with that.
Okay.
It's called the HATE workout.
HATE.
Yes.
What's that acronym stand for?
So it stands for Harness Your Anger and Transfer the Energy. So basically, in a nutshell, what you're going to do is take all this anger and frustration that you have pent up inside of you. We're going to bring it to the surface and use it productively for a workout, thereby turning it into something much more uplifting and useful.
So is this something someone can do on their own at home and in the privacy of their home? Or?
Absolutely. You can do it anywhere.
And you can use equipment or the body weight to do this, right?
Right. Yeah. I might use exercise bands, kettlebells, a medicine ball, props like that for myself or for with a client. But honestly, you don't need anything. All you really need is a little bit of space, like space enough for a yoga mat and your body. And that's it.
How did you come upon the technique in your own life?
So I've been a personal trainer for like 15 years, and I live in New York City. And New York is a very stressful place. You know, you deal with a lot of different personalities. If you're doing well as a trainer, it means you're working a lot with a lot of different people, and it can be stressful. And I was having a hard time at one point in time, kind of like staying optimistic, staying passionate about what I do. And I was like, man, I don't know if I can keep this up. And I started I also work as an actor, so there's acting techniques where you're like doing these preparations where you're channeling your emotions from your personal life into a scene. And I started to realize that, like, you know, these actually are kind of therapeutic when I'm practicing them on my own, and the exercise makes me feel good. What if I combine them together to kind of take this frustration that I have with being overworked and dealing with New York and all that, and just put it into a workout. And I tried it as an experiment, and it's like changed my life. It's pretty much all I do whenever I don't feel good.
Yeah, I'm hearing you, and it's exciting because I think so many healing techniques from the past are theoretical, and it takes a lot of time to uncover maybe the cause of our unhappiness. But what you're doing is so somatic, it's so grounded in the body, and it's immediate, like that idea of harnessing energy. And can you talk a little bit about what it means to transform energy? Because that, for some people, can be vague. Like, we all know what it's like to be viscerally angry.
Absolutely.
Right? So what do you mean more by transforming an energy that we feel like that?
Well, one real concrete thing is that emotion is constantly changing. Mm-hmm. The only thing that doesn't change is when you hang on to something. Like, maybe you're upset about something and you don't want to express it, or you don't want to deal with it, so you act like it's not there. It gets pent up and that anger gets worse and worse and worse. It's not staying the same, it's getting worse. Mm-hmm. And if you express it, then it has the ability to change into something else. So this is basically just giving you a really safe way to express it so that you don't explode or blow up at somebody in a way that's going to be self-destructive.
When we hold on to emotions, they become trapped energy, and I think that can create violence against sometimes ourselves or to those around us, like people taking out their anger from work on their kids or their wife or their family members.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's what we do, right? You have something that's frustrating you in a place where you can't express it, so then you find somebody who probably doesn't deserve it that you take it out on. And it's not good for you, it's not good for them, it's not good for anybody that witnesses it, and it creates this domino effect of negative energy.
Is there danger of, like, associating yourself to the state of anger and it lingering in trying to do the technique? How do you know that it's dissipated, and you know, when you're really feeling that anger, that it's...
So here's the trick.
Yeah.
Because we're connecting it with exercise, scientifically, it has to change, because when you do high intensity interval training, which is part of this routine, your brain actually produces endorphins that make you feel good. Okay. It produces good feeling hormones like dopamine and serotonin that make you feel good. So you're gonna feel good afterwards anyway. It's gonna change it anyway. You're just gonna be using this anger and frustration as fuel for the workout to bring it to another intensity level, which that higher intensity level then elicits more endorphins, more good feeling hormones, so it makes it even more beneficial.
That sounds really amazing. Can you take a moment and put yourself through this short routine?
Yeah.
And then later we'll talk about how someone can sequence for themselves and pick the appropriate movements for their body. But just give us a run through of what it looks like and how someone can do this on their own. We'd love to see that.
Sure, you want me to stand up and just do it?
Yeah.
All right. So the way that you do this workout is, first, it's really simple. The first step is that you get yourself all set up with a 20 to 30 minute high intensity interval training workout. For our purposes, we're going to do a real simple body weight workout. I'm going to do 4 exercises in a row for 30 seconds each. Jumping jacks, multi-joint upper body movement, a push-up, a multi-joint lower body movement, alternating forward lunges, and then I'm going to do a core exercise, a plank. Then I'll take a minute break. If you're going to do the whole workout on your own, you would just repeat that till you get to 20 or 30 minutes. All right? So you're all set up with your workout. The next step before you jump in is to bring up whatever it is that's most stressing you out in this moment today, so that we can put it into action. And the way to do that is really simple. You just speak it out loud and talk about it for a little bit. For example, what is it that's most stressing me out today? Man, the subway? I mean, I can't even begin. Like every single weekend, the subway doesn't work. Like, again, I'm thinking, oh, I'm just gonna go to the subway, it's gonna be about 50 minutes to get here. No, there's no train. And there's a shuttle bus, and there's like 100 people waiting for the shuttle bus, so obviously the shuttle bus isn't going to be here on time. So my hour or 50-minute commute is going to turn into an hour and a half, 2 hours. So guess what I'm doing? I'm paying for a cab, again, on top of my monthly pass. All right, so now I got all that anger, obviously, to the surface, right? So I'm going to use that. I'm going to jump immediately into the workout, using my anger and frustration at the New York transit system to fuel my workout and raise my intensity level throughout. Then I'm going to jump into my next exercise, push-ups. And I'm just going to keep going, using my frustration at the MTA to fuel my workout. As you can see, the intensity level of my workout is raised, It's a lot easier to work out hard. In fact, I don't have to do anything. It's basically doing the work for me. Then we're gonna move into alternating forward lunges. And I can already kind of feel it changing. Like what was pissing me off about a minute ago is now kind of making me laugh. So this is the point where I've got another exercise to go, right? So how can I keep my intensity up? I might think of another aspect of my commute today that frustrated me. Like the fact that it's raining and they say that there's all these people working on the tracks, but there's nobody there. There's no construction being done. It's like everybody's got a day off, except for the people that have to get to work. All right. Last thing, the home stretch. This is where you take everything that you got and you put it into the exercise. Get it all out. Whew. All right. So now my body's exhausted. Expressed all my anger, my frustration at the MTA. I already feel better, a lot better. But I'm gonna take a second, I'm gonna do a quick gratitude exercise. It's real simple and practical. Just say out loud, what am I grateful for? I'm grateful for being here with you guys today. I'm grateful that I'm healthy, that I'm fit, that I'm able to be here, that regardless of whatever kind of trouble it was to get here in the first place, I got here.
So Eric, thank you for walking through that circuit. And what was interesting is there was a moment when you were doing the lunges where a humor came up. Like I felt like you laughed, you chuckled. And that's where the energy started to shift, and I felt that transformation. Is that because of changing the primary muscles used? Like the intensity you generated in just a couple of minutes was powerful. How does that work physiologically with people?
Well, basically when you generate emotion and then it's in your body anyway, like the fascia that surrounds all your muscles is storing all these emotions. Essentially, like you call the emotions to the surface, and then if you're relaxed, it'll resonate in your whole body. If you're stiff, like most of us are in certain areas, it's gonna get stuck there. But you put it into motion immediately, and that motion will help the emotion to resonate with your whole body, which then allows it to change quicker.
So you brought all of that energy to the surface, but then you sealed it and really sent the current in another direction with gratitude. You also said, I'm glad that I came here on time and I got to where I was going. So you sort of shift linguistically your perception of the situation, and that alters your state also, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But my perception was shift. That wasn't like something I preconceived. It was just something that came up in the moment because by doing that in the workout, my perception was shifted through that. So I was just saying what was coming up for me in the moment. It's a stream of consciousness thing. So when I'm like, what am I grateful for? I'm just saying whatever legitimately comes up in the moment, like the first thing that comes in my mouth. But because, you're focusing it in the beginning about what's frustrating you, and you're focusing on your workout and using that specific thing that's frustrating you, it's not surprising that in the end, the result shifts in a very specific way as well, because it's all focused.
So tying it all together for the viewer at home, let's just sequentially run through what you did so they can repeat this without equipment if they're feeling intense and they need to process something. What did we start with here? Do we outline the sequence?
Sure.
So go through.
So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to get a high intensity interval training workout all put together. So you can find a template online. If you Google HIIT, H-I-I-T, workout templates, there'll be a lot of them. You basically just want to pick a workout with exercises that work for you. So stuff that you've done before, like if basic things like push-ups, squats, lunges, any kind of a calisthenic that's good for you, any kind of a core exercise that works for you. And that's the way I broke up this one. Was very simple and generic, total body, 4 exercises in a row for 30 seconds each. I would do a calisthenic first, then a multi-joint upper body movement, then a multi-joint lower body movement, and then a core exercise. And then after doing those each for 30 seconds, take a 1-minute break and then repeat. If during that 1-minute break you feel like you've already changed, you could pick something else.
When do you verbally state what you're angry about before the sequence or during?
Exactly. Yeah. So basically, you get the sequence all set up for yourself.
Got it.
Right. And then the next step is you bring that emotion to the surface by simply just stating it out loud, and then talking about it for a second if you need to, and then you jump right into the workout, and you do yourself a set. If during one set you express it all completely, then great. You can just move on to something else for the second set. Since you're going to be doing like 6 or 7 sets, you might be able to process a whole bunch of things that are frustrating you and feel a whole lot lighter by the end of the entire workout.
And then you lay the gratitude out to seal it at the end.
At the end of the entire workout.
Okay.
So the last step is gratitude after the whole 20 or 30-minute experience.
Okay. Wow, that's really simple, really accessible, and very resourceful to so many people out there, especially living in New York City where we are, but I'm sure for anyone in the world. Eric, where can people find out more about your work and all of your social handles? How do we get in touch with you?
So my website is inspiredexercise.nyc. My Instagram is inspiredexercisenyc, and my email is inspiredexercisenyc@gmail.com.
Eric, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your wisdom and experience with us. I hope this technique can be a resource to you guys at home. I know it is for New Yorkers. Fantastic. So thank you so much for staying with us. More coming your way on Motivations. In our next interview, we sit down with an ex-therapist, certified yoga teacher, meditation instructor, nutritional counselor, author, and life coach at Radiant Wholeness. In her younger years, she was over-anxious, depressed, and underconfident, hiding behind a plethora of masks, makeup, and medication. On the outside, she was successful. However, on the inside, miserable. Searching for the magic solution exhausted her through endless experiences, until she discovered the simple yet powerful 4-letter word. A 4-letter word we all need to possess and purify ourselves with: love. Through her own personal trials, she devotes herself to others and gives personalized, concrete healing tools. She will remind you of your worthiness and help transform your qualities and traits that have paralyzed you and made you feel radiant and whole again. This is the magnificent Caitlin Margaret.
Hi, and welcome to Motivations. I'm Janet Miranda, and I'm so honored to be here with certified life coach Caitlin. Caitlin, can you please tell the world, first tell them your full name and where they could find you, and some of the tools that you give to society to just be a better place?
Sure, yeah, and so happy to be here. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So my name is Caitlin Margaret, and I am the owner of Radiant Wholeness with Caitlin Margaret. The idea behind my work is that I work with people who are struggling with kind of emotional instability, whether that be depression, anxiety, or other kind of bigger emotional issues. And I really help them take a sacred view to what's happening in their life and turn towards it rather than away from it. Meaning a lot of times we just want to escape our depression or anxiety or sad feelings. But if you look at it as a sacred opportunity to see where there's imbalance in your life, where there's a lack of alignment in your life, where there's a lack of integrity or authenticity in your life, or a lack of love in your life. And we can address that systematically through presence and compassion.
Like heading face on, head on.
Straight into it, and then you get to be whole, rather than try to ignore or shame or get rid of a part of who you are, or medicate or numb a part of who you are. Instead, we integrate all of you into a radiant whole being.
I love
that. So that's the work that I do.
But Caitlin, how do people find what it is that they're missing or lacking? I mean, some of these issues, they do stem up from childhood, right?
Absolutely.
So how does one discover, like, what is it? What is driving them to drink or take meds or be depressed or be anxious?
Yeah. So the way that I look at anxiety and depression, and again, this came from my own journey with mental and emotional health. In my own life, I struggled with anxiety and depression for 10 years, was hospitalized, was on over 15 different medications through the time of my mental health journey. The answer was always, there's a chemical imbalance, right? There's a chemical imbalance in your brain and something is faulty within you.
Which is another label.
Which was another label, and then a self-fulfilling prophecy of me saying, I am broken, I am damaged, and let me play into that narrative and believe that I'm a burden unto myself and society. And so while I think that I don't want to diminish the realness of these experiences for people. I think that it's important for you to look at your life, and specifically what I look at with people is diet, nutrition, and health, number one, because there's absolutely a biology of stress and a biology of peace and love. So we start by looking at your diet. We start by looking at your relationships. If there's honesty, if there's openness, if you can be your real self in those relationships. Then we look at your beliefs and your philosophy on life, and we say, you know, what do you believe about the world? Do you believe we live in a friendly universe that has your back, or do you believe everything and everyone is danger waiting to hurt you? Of course you're going to experience emotional imbalance, fear, depression, if that's the way in which you see the world, rather than see that everybody is walking around a little bit broken, and it's really up to us to honor ourselves and each other.
That's
right?
beautiful.
So we look at all these different angles. We definitely look at your childhood and some of the beliefs you might have inherited or the way of relating to people. And we look at the choices you've made with your life. Are you working in a career that fulfills you, that feeds you, that drives you? Or are you working on one that tells you that you had to give up on your dreams? That what you really wanted with your life or who you really want to be can't get paid, isn't enough, isn't likable, isn't earnable, isn't whatever it is. And so we look at all those, and what I do in my work is we say, where's the kind of best starting point for you? So for some people, you know, if they're a working mother and trying to support their kids, they're not going to be able to necessarily work on changing their career immediately and finding more authenticity there. So we might start with working on how to change their psychology and their biology. Whereas other people don't really even want to get into the negative thoughts, and they want to just have a life of alignment. And we'll start there, and that will be a portal for entry into other areas of their lives that are kind of out of alignment. So it really is a personal journey for everybody in order to come into a kind of a wholeness overall.
And that's beautiful. Wow, that sounds like a lot of self-work and self-mastery that one has to do, right?
Yeah. Well, and again, I think the idea, and the reason I call this a sacred journey is because I don't like to call it work. I like to call it as a really brilliant and beautiful opportunity. I can't imagine. I grew up in a family with tremendous amounts of kind of mental and emotional health issues, and and it took a major toll on my life for many years. But now I know exactly how to eat to support my life. I know exactly what hobbies, what people, relationships, where to say no in order to live an incredibly fulfilled life, a life where I wake up every day excited, fulfilled, full of joy, full of love. And I can't imagine having gotten here if I didn't have to go through that journey. And so I think it's not, it is work, as in it takes time and dedication to looking inside and looking at your life and asking deep questions. But I never think of that as work. I think of that as an exciting activity and an opportunity for us to engage in our daily lives.
And that's beautiful. And hindsight, looking back, you can certainly say, well, I should have done this or I could have done this. But what would be some tools that you recommend to children who are experiencing an abusive home environment or a narcissistic home environment?
Yeah, well, children are a very kind of, vulnerable and susceptible group. And so a lot of times I do work with young teenagers and things whose parents have a parenting philosophy that is about the wrongness of the child, meaning you have to be better at this, and they're doing it out of love and compassion. They want their kid to be successful, to have an easy life.
So it's not necessarily abusive, it's from their perspective.
Often not intentionally abusive.
It's loving.
And in fact, I think my golden rule in this life is that nobody creates pain unless they're in pain. And I know that from my own self.
Wow.
When I was struggling with anxiety and depression so badly, there were so many times when I acted out of integrity, and when I hurt people or I yelled at people or I did things that I didn't want to do, and it felt like an outer body experience where I was not in control. And I know now that I was literally, and psychologically studies have shown that the part of my brain that accesses rational decision-making and compassion and wisdom is cut off when you're in your fear, anxious, depressed brain. And so you just realize that everybody walking on this earth, no matter how much pain they're causing you, they are in twice as much pain. So it starts with compassion and love for where people are, and a commitment to recognizing the innocence and goodness of all people.
And that's such a beautiful statement, because, I mean, in our society today, we've labeled so many people as narcissists and abusers. And in the meantime, if you take a look at what you're saying from your perspective, it's really that those are the people that are most hurt.
Right, exactly.
So, and those are the people that probably need the most love.
Right. And I think that, you know, absolutely they need love. And again, love is not coddling. They're different things. The way that I like to think about it is, you know, a mother with a young child, right? If a young child comes home from school and has failed a test, the mother is at first, you know, a really compassionate and loving mother is first going to say, oh, baby, it's okay. I'm going to love you no matter what. And just because you failed this test doesn't mean you failed in life. But then she's going to say, hey, what are the things that we need to do to help you grow, help you succeed, help you feel confident in this area? So it's not just coddling, saying, let's just get you ice cream and forget the test all day. There is we have to be biased towards wellness and growth and progress, but doing so in a real compassionate way for where people are when they're there.
Well, Caitlin, while we have you here, and we only have a couple more minutes, and you've blessed us so much already with all this knowledge, what do folks do when they're in an experience that they just don't enjoy anymore, or they don't manifest goodness anymore? For example, a relationship that is no longer serving them, or a job that no longer fulfills them. What are some tools that you can recommend to the world that they can use to still make themselves feel good and whole while living out whatever purpose they need to?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, I think, again, I love these moments when people come to me in crisis and say, you know, my job is like draining me now, my relationship's draining me, I need to get away as fast as possible. And I say, wait, here's your moment to learn a few things about yourself. Number one, to learn how you got here. What brought you to this frustrating circumstance? Was there a belief or a quality within you that allowed your life to get to this point? Number one, ask those questions, not from a place of blame, from a place of pure honesty, so that you can grow and progress and don't meet these situations and circumstances again in your life. Ask that inquiry. Then get in touch with your deepest values. What matters most to you? What would you fight for even if nobody else believed in it? And fight for that every single day in some small way, right? And that doesn't need to mean you have to change your job or change your relationship. It means you get to show up to wherever and whatever you're doing a little bit differently in alignment with what you care about most.
Caitlin, that was so powerful. Thank you so much for this. And we're definitely going to have to bring you back for some more goodness. But can you just tell the world where they could find you?
Yes. And you guys can find me at Caitlin the Coach. That's CAITLIN on Instagram. My handle is Caitlin the Coach. And my website is CaitlinMargaret.com. And please go there if you're struggling with anxiety, depression, and you want a kind of integrative, non-pharmaceutical, holistic approach and resources. There's tons of resources there for you.
Caitlin, one more thing before you go. What one tool would you give to those folks who are having an anxiety attack?
Yeah. Absolutely. So an anxiety attack that will stop everything, an anxiety attack has overwhelmed your mind and body. And the fastest way to get out of both of that is to bring in the opposite of anxiety, bring in the opposite of fear, which is love. So do a self-love meditation, do a self-compassion meditation, and that will soothe, it will bring oxytocin into your body, it will soothe your biology as well as your mind, and from there you can take wise action.
And for those folks that don't know, what is a self-love meditation?
A self-love meditation is a meditation in which you tune in, you regard your breath as something sacred and beautiful, and you kiss everything that feels anxious inside of you with the flow of your breath. And then you say loving, kind words to yourself, like your grandmother might have said to you, or like your best friend would say to you, as a mantra within until you feel some peace.
Amazing. Thank you so much for blessing us today with all this knowledge. Well, Caitlin the Coach, you can find her at?
You can find me at CaitlinMargaret.com and Caitlin the Coach on Instagram.
Please stay tuned to Motivations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in and watching our show. We hope you truly enjoyed it.
Tune in on our next episode where we discuss the critical topic of prevention and self-care as we sit down with licensed mental health counselor Shayna Shockett and pharmacist and dispensary director Sang Choi.
And if you missed any of our previous episodes, be sure to watch them on our YouTube channel.
Be sure to follow us on all our social media pages and contact us today. We'd love to hear from you.
Like us on Facebook and tell us your thoughts about the show. We want to hear from you.
Follow us on Instagram and leave a comment about today's show.
Tweet us what topics you would like for us to discuss in the future on Twitter.
And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Hit that little bell so you can get the instant notifications on when our exclusive content is released.
We can't wait to hear from you.